Hey there, Jody here, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over my thoughts on two book adaptations that I've watched in the last few months, on two books that I read in the last few months. So these are books that I've already reviewed on my channel, so you can totally check out my spoiler-free reviews on these books if you like, or not, you know, it's totally fine. So the book adaptations that I'm going to be talking about today are Eileen by Ottessa and Moshfegh and The Better Sister by Alafair Burke. So the first one I'm going to be talking about, obviously, like I said, is Eileen. So Eileen is a book that I read in February, and it's like a literary mystery kind of story. You know, I'll go over what the stories are about, like, briefly, you know, before I go over my thoughts on the adaptation. And I should say also there will be spoilers in this video because I'm going to be comparing, you know, my thoughts on the adaptations, if you will. So it will be a spoiler-filled kind of video, I guess. Eileen, I read in February, like I said, it was 5 stars. It was a really interesting book about a really interesting character named Eileen. And basically, Eileen is about a young woman named Eileen who is 24 years old and lives in a town in Massachusetts in the early 1960s. Eileen is deeply unhappy with her life. She's, you know, very depressed as well, and she constantly dreams of running away and starting over somewhere new, but she can never get herself to actually get up and leave. Eileen still lives in the same town she grew up in the same house she grew up in with her father, who drinks constantly and talks down to her. Her and her father do not get along at all, and the only time Eileen is really ever around anyone other than her father is when she is at work. So Eileen works at an all-boys prison, and even there, Eileen very much keeps to herself, and she doesn't really have any friends there. That is until one day when she meets a new co-worker named Rebecca. Rebecca and Eileen soon become friends. Eileen is very, you know, memorized by Rebecca. She's a very interesting person to her. And so when Rebecca invites Eileen to spend Christmas Eve over at her place, Eileen is just like over the moon excited for this invitation because Eileen doesn't have any friends or really any other family other than her father, so she doesn't get invited to things very often, so this is like a really big deal for her. And so she arrives at Rebecca's home, but when Rebecca answers the door, she's very different than the person Eileen has come to know. After arriving at Rebecca's home that night, things go on to take a really dark turn that you just don't see coming. As far as my thoughts on the adaptation, I thought it was a pretty decent adaptation of the book. Many things about the film that I thought really worked. I thought the film captured, you know, that uneasy, depressing, dark feeling that the story had. In the film, it had a very like Hitchcock-like feeling to it, especially when the film first starts. There's like the music, and it felt like a Hitchcock film in many ways for that, you know, for like just the feeling of it. I also thought the performances were absolutely fantastic. Anne Hathaway plays Rebecca, and Thomasin McKenzie plays Eileen, and I thought they worked really well with each other, and I thought they really portrayed the characters on screen like they were in the book. I thought it was really great performances. The only thing about the film adaptation that I thought both worked for the film but also took something away from the film and the story as well, because in the book, Eileen narrates the whole entire story from start to finish. And so throughout that period of time, you really get to understand Eileen, you really get to know her on a deep and personal and emotional level, because Eileen basically tells you everything that's on her mind, basically tells you everything that's happened in her life, so you understand how she got to be the person that she is when the story begins. The film didn't have Eileen narrate the story. There was no narration in the film, period. And by not having that narration in the film by Eileen, really just never got to understand Eileen or really get to know her on that deep and emotional and personal level like you did in the book. So I did feel like that took something away from the story by not having that narration. But instead of, you know, Eileen narrating the story, you would instead see like these long stretches of silent moments where it was just Eileen by herself, and you really saw that like sadness and loneliness that made up Eileen's life. So I did think it worked not having the narration in the film, but also took something away from the story as well. But overall, a really good adaptation of a really great book. Now for the next book adaptation I'll be reviewing today, which is The Better Sister by Alafair Burke. So The Better Sister is about two estranged sisters, Chloe and Nikki, who at one point in time were very close, but now no longer are. And after college, Chloe moves to New York City to pursue a career in journalism, while Nikki stays back in their hometown in Ohio. And it's there where Nikki meets Adam, a lawyer whom she later goes on to marry and have a child with. Then the story flash forwards 15 years, and now Chloe is married to Nikki's ex-husband, Adam, and together the two are raising Nikki and Adam's son, Ethan, together in New York City. And despite Chloe and Adam having very high-profile careers, they live overall a very simple and quiet life. That is until one day when Chloe comes home to find Adam dead, covered in blood. Soon enough, the police are involved in trying to solve Adam's murder, and the detectives on the case seem to think that it wasn't just some random stranger who killed Adam, but someone very close to him. Thoughts on the adaptation go, I thought it was a really, really great adaptation of the book. Things that I really liked about the show was I thought the show was perfectly cast. Chloe was played by Jessica Biel, and Nikki was played by Elizabeth Banks. And I knew who was going to be in the cast of the TV show when I started reading the book. And when I was reading the book, I could really picture Jessica Biel and Elizabeth Banks playing these two sisters. It really feels like Elizabeth Banks was like made to play Nikki, because it just, like the way Nikki talked in the book, it just felt like Elizabeth Banks kind of humor, the way, like, you know, when you see her in movies and stuff, I could just picture her playing that part. And so when I watched the show, their performances were just so great, and they worked really well with each other. The show is about like a very complicated like sister relationship, and I thought they were just really great on the show. The only thing about the show that I didn't really like as much as the book is, in the book, Chloe is having this affair with one of Adam's coworkers, Jake. The affair with Jake isn't some fling. Like, the two of them like really truly deeply care about each other and love each other, and their relationship is very genuine and sincere. And I really liked their relationship in the book. He was very much like that person that she could rely on in many ways in the story. And whereas on the show, their relationship was kind of like portrayed like that for the majority of the show. But then towards the end of the show, it became clear that maybe this relationship was kind of a fling, at least for Jake. In the sense that deep love between these two characters on the show like you did in the book. I would say the biggest difference from the book to the screen was the ending. Because where the book ended on a definitive no cliffhanger kind of ending, the TV show definitely ends on a cliffhanger, if you will. From everything I gather, there was no initial intention to make another season. I don't believe another season has been announced, so I don't know why they left it on such a cliffhanger. The cliffhanger is basically that Jake is on the beach dead, and you're like, wait, what? I don't understand, if we weren't planning for a season 2, why you would leave the show like that. Yeah, it was just very interesting why they would end the show like that if they weren't planning another season. Because I saw that ending and I'm like, okay, we're getting, it's like, okay, they're planning for another season with that ending. If they didn't end the show like that, there would be no need for another season, because all the questions really do get answered within the season. But now I kind of want a season 2 because I want to know what happened to Jake. Like, why is he dead on the beach? So that definitely didn't happen in the book. Overall, you know, as far as book adaptations go, this was probably one of the best ones I've seen recently. And the show's on Amazon Prime. I forgot to say that, but in case you're interested, it's available there to watch. Really great show. Like I said, definitely lives up to the book. So yeah, those are the 2 book adaptations that I will be reviewing in today's video. I have recently read another book that did get adaptation that I have watched the adaptation for, which is the book Disclaimer by Renee Scott. I, like to do these book review adaptations, at least 2 at a time, and I haven't, watched another adaptation yet. And also, I haven't even started my book review for that book as well, so I like to do the book reviews before the book adaptation reviews. So it might be some time before I review the adaptation on my channel, but yeah, that's going to be for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know in the comments what's your absolute favorite book adaptation of all time. Okay, hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so very much for watching, and until next time, bye!